Everyone. My name is Linda Smith, and I am with the League of Women Voters. I'm also with an organization called Race Onward. I'm also with an organization called When She Votes, three of which are sponsors tonight, along with the Daniel Boone Regional Library. We love having partnerships with the library. And then finally, the MU Journalism Reynolds Institute. And so those five groups are pleased to offer you this series. We're in session number 2. If you weren't here 2 weeks ago, you missed a really good session on misinformation and disinformation, but you really didn't miss it because it is on the library's YouTube channel, and it's also on the League of Women Voters YouTube channel, so you can look that up. We had Seth here with Professor Kathy Kiley and just some incredible information that is important to this election year. It's important always, not just because it's an election year. A couple of housekeeping things that I realized that I forgot the last time that we were here is that there are restrooms right outside this door and down the hallway. There's also a drinking fountain. There are goodies. I don't know if we have any of the decaf coffee left, but certainly water and cookies back there. Please help yourself throughout if you need to get up and move around. Our third and final session, which is going to focus on artificial intelligence. And we've already started to see some of that in some of the commercials and campaign material. Professor Scott Christensen from the Trulaskey School of Business will be here he was actually here during our first session. He'll be here to enlighten me anyway, about artificial intelligence. And yeah, we look forward to that as well. So a couple of props. 2 weeks ago, we had these out on the table and forgot to mention to pick it up and take them home with you. Our little, what do you call these technically? The screen dusters, I call them. But yeah, so truth or misinformation. There's also a handout from, I believe this is created by the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition on mis and disinformation. It looks like a lot of information, but it's probably a lot of common sense sort of information. So pick up handouts on your way out. Okay. Seth is the show tonight, Seth Smith. Seth is a public services librarian at the Daniel Boone Regional Library and has worked closely with digital and media literacy efforts at the library for the last 6 years. I think that he would tell you that he has his own petri dish at home as well, because he's the father of 2 daughters that are at that age that the Surgeon General is telling us about. And so he has great stories. I'm sure they know that he includes them in his comments while he's teaching. I had to look up and see what public service librarians do, because I wasn't quite sure. And thank God that Seth put it in his LinkedIn profile so that I could be enlightened. But he provides high quality reference services to the public, he also serves as the building supervisor on weekends and evenings and participates in public programming and technology instruction. I can always rely on library people for technology instruction. So he's been involved in a couple of community projects over the last 5 years, a technology class coordinator for the library system. I find that easy to believe. He supervised the creation of our community history archive at the library and was on lead on the team that introduced the first book bike service in Missouri in 2018. You'll have to tell us more about that. But he came to librarianship after working in forestry recreation. I come from Oregon, so I like forestry recreation with the U.S. Forest Service in Colorado, Idaho, and Alaska. What a cool job. He's passionate about public libraries and sees their mission as a bulwark for democracy and as defenders of First Amendment freedoms. In his spare time, he claims to be an avid trail runner, a cyclist, and an outdoorsman. So, turn it over to you.
I need to revise my LinkedIn profile. No, just kidding. No, thanks for that really nice introduction, Linda. Yeah, so a couple of things I wanted to mention. Basically, this is so timely because so many things are happening in real time in terms of what is happening with the Surgeon General. Deb Wheeler, who was helping out with the program tonight, and one of our great library staff members was telling us also about there was a Supreme Court ruling this morning, I believe, which basically upheld some of the Biden administration's limitations or attempts to take out some problematic social media posts about certain things. I'm, as a First Amendment person, I have mixed feelings on that. But at the same time, you know, I think the higher courts are working through a lot of this stuff right now. So before I get started, I wanted to mention, like our media literacy course, we want to emphasize that we aren't trying to tell you which devices to use or where to get your media. This is a completely nonpartisan effort. And we've also really embraced technology at the library. I know I'm someone who uses technology every day in my job, teaches a lot of technology classes, and I feel like it can be a real force for good. So we're also Zooming this session, and a few housekeeping notes for Zoom. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, if you are watching this on Zoom, if you hover or tap, you should see, among other things, a chat bubble icon. You can ask a question or make a comment using the chat. My colleague, Lauren Williams, who is our awesome adult and community services manager at the Columbia Public Library, will keep an eye on the chat and read the questions and comments so I can address them during the question and answer session at the end. And I would like to just say that if you could hold your questions till the end, that would be awesome. So also we have a little, basically it's a little activity, and it should be on your desk. We're going to do that about halfway through the presentation, and I will do it with you. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and jot down some ideas during this presentation. So when it's time for questions and discussion, we can ask those in the room to wait for the microphone so that those on Zoom can hear the questions as well. So yes, let's get started with the presentation. Sure this is working. It is working. Great. So I want to reuse this slide from Kathy Kiley's and my presentation from a couple of weeks ago because it speaks so profoundly to our current environment. The current statistics are overwhelming, really staggering. They're probably underestimating things. So TikTok is now downloaded more than any other app. We send nearly 13 million texts per minute. We watch over 4 million videos on YouTube every minute and generate more than 4 million likes on Facebook. 90% of the data in the world today has been created in the last 2 years alone. And according to Statista.com, there are 4.66 billion active internet users worldwide. I think this is old data actually from 2022, so it's increased, of course. 59.5% of the global population. Of this, 92.6%, which is almost 4.3 billion people, access the internet via mobile devices. This usage data increases algorithmically as people accumulate more devices and more households gain internet access across the globe. So saying this is a revolution is actually putting it mildly. And if you think about it, it's happened very fast, and things go so fast, especially with AI, which we'll be talking about in 2 weeks. So also, the Pew Research Center has done some really great research on digital media usage in the United States the last 10 years. And I've really examined their research closely for this presentation. As librarians, we also look really closely at their data. So according to this study, roughly 4 in 10 US adults say they're online almost constantly. And I can attest that, as hard as I may try, if I include my smartphone usage, the use of apps for listening to music or exercising, watching movies or shows on my smart TV, reading books on my Kindle Fire, I'm one of those 4 in 10 adults. I think I'm almost terminally online. I'm constantly using some kind of device, and I'm trying to fix that. Actually, this presentation has actually really helped with that. So, perhaps more stark, nearly half of U.S. teens say they use the internet almost constantly. This is a huge change from just 10 years ago, when few kids even had access to smartphones and laptops. They were still an expensive luxury for many families. And this is from a Pew study called Teens, Social Media and Technology in 2022. And it's also part of our handout that we, when you're leaving, you can grab a handout that has these Pew studies on it. So it must be said that terminal onlineness for teens steadily increases every year that studies are done, mostly because of the prevalence of smartphones and cheap data plans. So from the same study, TikTok is also greatly accelerating in popularity. And Linda made an introduction for me a couple of weeks ago where I said that my daughters are trying to force me to get on TikTok and I refuse. I still refuse. And it is growing in usage faster than any other social media platform, despite attempts by governments in the US and Europe to ban it. These attempts also have backfired in the last year, and that banning things, and I can actually attest to this from my own experience with teenagers, banning things usually only increases their popularity. So the problem we're seeing with TikTok is that it can spread misinformation like wildfire. It's completely unregulated because it's owned by companies outside the United States. This came into glaring relief last week as the rumor that the US had initiated a military draft, misinformation which was spread through the TikTok platform, with several well-known TikTokers spreading false information about it, including this guy. He says that Congress says that you're drafted for the military draft, which is completely incorrect. The only thing they did was made selective service a little bit made it work a little bit smoother, I think. It was just part of this whole military bill. It was not a huge deal. But of course, this misinformation that spreads quite rapidly through the TikTok ecosystem. So, yeah, there was no basically military recruitment has fallen in the last few years, and that is true. But an actual draft takes an act of Congress. It's very politically unpopular, and this new legislation is just an attempt to make selective service a little bit less cumbersome. So while traditional media usage is down, alternative media, such as those found in podcasts, are way up. I'm a big podcast listener. I love podcasts. I listen to them at night a lot. And so this graph from a study by the Edison Research Group shows the profound increase in listenership during the last 10 years. Along with websites or blogs, podcasts can sprout up about anywhere that someone has a microphone, a laptop, and some time to record. They've started in a lot of people's bedrooms or living rooms. Now individual podcasts feature hundreds of thousands of listeners, and the makers of podcasts include many on the fringes of society and the political spectrum, because anyone can do it, right? So this was a quote from my 14-year-old daughter. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Daddy, the moon landing wasn't real." And this was at the dinner table, and food was falling out of my mouth, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. What are you listening to? What?" Basically, it took me really by surprise. So she's listening to a lot of podcasts, and she's young, you know, she's 14, she doesn't have a job, she's about to start high school. And it's a great time for her to be online all the time. So basically, the last presentation, Kathy and I talked about how opinion is often confused with fact and reporting. And then, so I think she was listening to some kind of fringe podcast. I'm not sure what it was. And basically, we were talking about that the moon landing wasn't real. And these kinds of things are all over the internet, and they're filled with information as fact or opinion as fact. In fact, I don't know if anyone has heard of Patrick Bet-David and his podcast Valuetainment. It's a very popular podcast, kind of right of center, some conspiracy theories definitely found there. So this particular YouTube interview is with a guy named Bart Sibrel, who claims that the moon landing was an elaborate hoax propagated by the CIA under the direction of Hollywood directors like Stanley Kubrick. And there's also a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding The Shining. That movie had the young man had a Apollo sweatshirt on, and for some reason they've associated Stanley Kubrick possibly with a moon landing hoax. It's very strange, but these types of videos are all over YouTube. Podcasts are frequently found on YouTube and downloaded there, and they really solidify a lot of common conspiracy theories. So I want to say that Bart, I did listen to this, and it was not convincing, but Bart Sibrel is very well educated and well spoken. And if you're not, if you're impressionable, I think it could be very convincing to a young person. So it's interesting. Things have really changed as far as the news landscape, and Kathy Kiley talked a lot about this. According to this survey, 58% of US adults prefer to get their news from digital services as opposed to television, which has dropped to 27% in 2023, with radio dropping in popularity and print only being about 5% of the overall usage. And now there are dozens of news platforms that broadcast their news online only. You know, this is very problematic in ways that Kathy talked to us about a couple of weeks ago. Mostly because so much of news that you find online or social media could be old news or misinformation. It's opinion, not vetted in a newsroom by professional journalists, without corrections or other ways to make sure that content is appropriate. And as I also mentioned, I will raise my hand in saying I use Google News way too much. And it produces an algorithm that just recently I was looking at it involves news about Yellowstone, cycling, and some other interests that I have that have nothing to do with news. So it's a huge problem, and I'm not getting good news from Google News. Also, and this probably isn't surprising, 83% of adults between the ages of 18 and 29 now get their news from digital devices, according to this same Pew Research Center study. So the younger generation, we're talking mainly Gen Z, mostly getting all their news from digital devices. And doesn't surprise me. I'm worried about print as a news source. I don't know how long it's going to last, and I find that pretty sad in a lot of ways. So additionally, social media usage has increased by large margins since the advent of these services. Most adults, now not just a few or a smaller percentage, most US adults now say that they use YouTube, while a large majority use Facebook. So they're getting a tremendous amount of information off both those platforms. And like I said, those platforms feature a lot of good content, but then there's a lot of really, really bad stuff as well. So we're branching off into a little bit into the healthy digital habits realm. And this is leading up to what the Surgeon General was talking about. So recent studies have shown that more than 1 out of 4 young US adults who spend about an hour per day on social media have high indicators of depression. I have a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old daughters, and I know that they spend too much time on their phones or social media. They're not very productive during the day. They'll become withdrawn and quite testy. I don't know if that's a medical diagnosis, but they become testy. And it's unfortunate, and I can tell that they've spent too much time on their devices when these things happen. So this is all happening in real time, which is really propitious that we had this workshop today, because Los Angeles School District completely banned the use of cell phones and social media early last week. So this is a quickly developing story. The research is showing that these devices and social media affect our teens' mental health and how they offer a plague of misinformation if not used correctly. Anecdotally, my daughter's time at Hickman High School, she just graduated. She was a senior this past year. Perhaps the most distracting element of student behavior was the unfettered use of smartphones at Hickman. Students would use their phones constantly during important moments of class. They would use them during tests, during lectures, in chemistry and science labs. It is a mess, and really problematic, but it's being an end is being put to it. They just announced in May of 2024, so last month, that they're going to have a really much more restrictive policy on cell phone use at the next school year, especially for middle schoolers. And I think that's just fantastic. In high school, students can still use their cell phones in hallways and between classes. They will be allowed during lunchtime. I imagine there's going to be a lot of disciplinary issues arising from this, because students are used to using their phones during class. And my daughter Lillian will be a freshman in the fall, so we'll find out. I'm gonna get an earful, I would imagine, about what is happening with this. But I'm really applaud this policy. I think it's fantastic. So this is all, everything is really rapidly unfolding right now related to this. So the United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, has announced as of June 17th that he'd like to see warning labels on social media, similar to the warnings on cigarette and alcohol packages. Some water here. In 2023, he released an advisory regarding teen mental health and social media and ways that one can mitigate some of the effects it has on young people. So the link to this advisory is also in our handout. And it's really good. It's some really important stuff. And I'm really glad that people at higher levels of government are looking at this. So I don't know if anyone saw this. He wrote an impassioned op-ed in the New York Times early last week, June 17th, calling for these warning labels. He feels very strongly about it. It's been applauded in some circles, received a somewhat lukewarm response from some civil libertarians and free speech advocates. There's some really interesting articles right now about how people think it might backfire. So like with any warning labels, and I have teenagers, some people worry that it's a bit like a moth to the flame for teens and will cause further addictive behavior. Some are also worried that they will miss out on some of the good things on social media, which is, connecting with other family members, for instance, or with their friends. And I know with my daughters, it's a huge way they connect with their friends. So this is all really pertinent stuff, and it's happening as we speak. So what do we do? Just like this cartoon cat, I think it was a meme that my daughter sent me, so I had to use it. Do we throw up our hands? Just give up? It's tempting, with all the data and the prevalence of social media. We just, I don't know, we could give up and let this technology consume our lives. Personally, as a librarian, a conscientious citizen, very civic minded, I don't think this is the path. And I really feel strongly that we can offer a different perspective and a path forward. And, it's not all bad. It's not going away. And we have stuff like GoFundMe, which, if you've ever used GoFundMe, it's an excellent way to raise money very quickly for charitable causes, for people who've had accidents, for instance. One can set up a page in a heartbeat and contribute, start raising money. And it's, this is part of the digital realm that's really great. I also really like the ease and convenience of writing collaboratively through a platform like Google Documents. For me, it's been this great addition to have that sort of collaborative way of working with a team in my organization, and also makes writing so much easier for young people. They can collaborate. You can edit their stuff so much faster. So there are a lot of great things that have come from this revolution, and it definitely is a revolution. So along with government entities such as the U.S. Health and Human Services, organizations and universities are trying to assist with the ongoing process of digital well-being. So this video is from the International University in Spain, IE for short. It's a short little video. They're one of those institutes of higher education working on topics related to digital wellness as it relates to global development and other important issues of our time. So we have partnered with several different international organizations with this media literacy effort. One of them is called IREX, which Kathy and I mentioned last time. IE is very much on the forefront with IREX in understanding that this digital realm has not only contributed to productivity, but also a sense of global unmooring and even political violence in recent decades. So let's take a quick look at this short video through the IE University.
So that we haven't had a chance to stop and think about what that technology is. What digital wellness is about implementing strategies or about help them have a healthy relationship. So businesses provide a model that's on the wheel, flourishing wheel, where our life domains are divided into 8 parts, such as relationships, environment, physical health, mental health, communications, productivity, citizenship, and digital enabled health. If we think about our relationships, for example, some of the negative effects are that because we are able to keep in touch with so many people through social media and through the internet, the quality of those relationships gets diluted. Also, in terms of our relationship, we use our phones when we are with people in real life. And we're creating a physical barrier between the person and us. Also in some social settings, we feel awkward if we're not with our phones. So we tend to make less eye contact with other people. On the other side, there are positive effects from technology on our relationships. Technology has enabled us to stay in touch with people that we really care about. Technology also has an impact on our community. Some of the negative effects include distraction, bored, because we have many notifications that pull our attention that is very difficult to focus. Another negative effect is that we are connected 24 hours a day. And so sometimes there's an expectation that we should be responsive 24 hours a day. And that doesn't allow us to recover and rest so we can be more productive the next day. On the other hand, technology has enabled us to work from anywhere at any time. So we can answer emails from a tablet, to work from home. In terms of productivity, for example, we should set time aside every day when we do focus work, we do deep work on the street. For some people, it works to turn off notifications, or their mobile phones on their phones, specific time to check and take care of email instead of like answering them as they come. If we really want to, we need to meet with the people that we care about in real life. Another recommendation is to set up rules about how we use technology when we are with the people that we care about. Establishing tech-free zones. So the dinner table, for example, during meetings, we will keep our devices aside. Digital wellness is an ongoing process. Technology is not going away. It's part of our daily life, and it's part of progress. And this is why it's important to adopt habits that allow us to have a healthy relationship with technology.
Yeah, I was really impressed by their series of videos. It's through it's called the Digital Wellness Institute through the IE University. And like I said on our handout, we do have a link to that as well. So yeah, it's very overwhelming. Much of the world, I think, is in the throes of a sense of digital confusion and overwhelm. We all experience it. I know I experience it almost on a daily basis, and I've been trying to think to myself, not only how do I fix this or help people fix this for their own lives, but how can I fix it? How can I work on this for myself and my family? So you think about all the forms digital media takes now. It includes social media, news, videos, gaming, YouTube, Vimeo, online video streaming services, commercial advertising like Google AdSense, video gaming, online school. That was very prevalent during COVID. Work. I know a lot of us now spend most of our time on computers at work. Medical records are usually found online, job applications, online banking. The list just goes on and on about what the digital world exists now for us in the 21st century. So as public librarians, we're really often encountering people who have never filled out a job application online before. One of the stories I'd like to tell is we've had people come up to the reference desk on the second floor at the library who lay concrete, saying that they need to use a computer to fill out an online application. They've never even touched a computer or a mouse before. So basic digital literacy is needed to get by in this world, but with information overload, overwhelming volume of information, I think it's a primary reason a lot of people just give up and they don't even really try to navigate this world. So it's a matter of really mindfully sifting through this information and making sure that we have a more mindful approach to it. And so we're gonna do a little exercise. You should see a little handout in front of you with multicolored. So it's got a green column on the left, and in the middle, it's a white column, and on the right-hand side, it's orange. And it's a handout from one of our partners, IREX. So I'll lead you through this, and it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes or so. It's supposed to be a really quick activity. And if you're on Zoom, you could grab a piece of paper. We also send it out as a Zoom handout link as well, if you want to work on it while we're doing this. So if you see the category on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see categories for your daily routine. These are your activities like driving, work, childcare, cooking, on down to the types of media that you consume, like print media, TV, radio, web devices, in-person social interactions. So start with the morning column and think about how much you spend on each of these. Just approximate it. You don't have to think real hard. Let's do this for 2 minutes, and then we'll do this survey. Is that I was really surprised at how much time I actually spend online, as opposed to, for instance, at the very bottom, there's social interactions, talking with friends, neighbors, family, or others. How little time I was doing that, which seems like the most important part of being a human being, and so that's something. This is actually from one of our youth literacy partners, IREX, and they've been really helpful in our curriculum for these news and media literacy efforts. So there are also some things you can do online. Anyone familiar with the apps? Some of the apps that help with digital wellness. There's some really good ones out there, but on Android apps or on an Android phone, and I actually have an Android Samsung Galaxy 11. Digital well-being actually comes native to this device, and I started using it recently after realizing I spend way too much time on my phone. iOS screen time also comes native to any Apple phones or devices. It's very similar to digital well-being, and you can use both of these to really help you analyze how much time you're spending on your smartphone. So iOS screen time, very similar to digital well-being. You can set app limits, see your usage data, and change preferences for content and privacy. And these are all built into the phones. So it's something to remember when you don't actually have to download them from the Play Store or from the Apple App Store. These are all in your settings on your phone. This is a snapshot of my digital well-being. So it's tracking how much time I spend on apps, my total screen time. I set my screen time to a certain limit each day. And you can set goals for how much time you spend every day on apps. And it will indicate if you reached a goal or exceeded it. I've just found it extremely useful. And I think I'm going to recommend this to my 14-year-old as we work on collaborating on maybe some better digital habits for her. iOS screen time, like I said, is very similar. It works the same way as digital well-being as well. It's basically it's the same program in many ways. So if you have your smartphone with you, you can look in your settings to find it. So there's if you want to grab your smartphone, but how many people have Apple devices here? Apple devices. So it looks like the majority. So iOS screen time, you can actually find this. This is a little bit of a walkthrough. You turn on to turn on screen time, you go to your settings in your Apple device. Then you tap app and website activity, and then tap turn on app and website activity. And that's how you that's actually it's very simple how you turn on screen time on your Apple device. And again, we do have drop-in. I'm going to mention this at the end. We have drop-in tech help, and we have one-on-one tech help at the library if you need more assistance with finding these on your phone, because I think they're really, really good tools for people who are trying to analyze their smartphone usage.
Seth, we've got a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Android. Here we go. Android devices, digital well-being can found under settings on an Android phone. So if you go to settings, and I just took this screenshot recently. I have mine looks a little bit different because I have a dark black background. Go to settings, and then it's under digital well-being and parental controls. So pretty easy to find and use. And I highly recommend both of those as a way to keep track of the time you spend on your smartphone, and keeping track of the data as well that you use. So I don't know if any of you have heard of Google Family Link. This is something that I use with my daughter when she first got a smartphone, and Family Link is really great. It's a way to monitor your kids' usage of their smartphone. You can limit apps and even turn off their smartphone remotely, which I did a number of times when I wasn't joking around either. No. There's also an Apple, I think I'm not sure there is an Apple component for this. I'm just mostly familiar with Google's Family Link. I think Apple has something very similar that you can do as well. So something to pass down to people who are in your family. These are all really good to use as far as monitoring your smartphone usage. There is also some apps off the grid. It's very similar in the sense that it will track your data and the usage of the time you use your smartphones. These are found through your App Store or Google Play Store. I do want to make a caution. These apps sometimes come with hidden subscription costs. Off the grid is really cool in that you can ensure that if you use it, you can ensure you have settings for where it would turn off family time, technology-free time. You can something called whitelist apps, so you can use them when you are off the grid, and that's very helpful if you're using music apps like Spotify. So you could it's basically a tech term for it will make this app usable even with when everything else is turned off. That's my technical jargon for that. Antisocial works similarly to off the grid, reporting usage statistics, app usage, and also apps that have been blocked. So I think both of these are free, but sometimes they come with hidden subscription costs, like you can upgrade to a certain level, stuff like that. There's also something really cool called the Minimalist phone app. It will turn your phone into what a dumb phone. Basically, it's a phone that only has the capacity to make calls or text during a certain time of the day. This app does come with a small monthly fee. There is a set fee for it, but it's a cool way to, really cut down on your phone usage if you're interested in doing that. This is what it looks like when you're doing the walkthrough and you're downloading the app. It'll tell you a little bit about some of the utilities for it. And I did check it out at one point, but then I do like, and I wanted to bring it to your attention, I do like the free services though that are embedded in the devices that we have, and particularly digital well-being through Google is a really robust program. They're also, this is really on my radar just because I have 2 teenagers, and with all the stuff that's been coming out with the Surgeon General, digital wellness it's really constantly on my mind. I'm worried about my daughter, my 14-year-old a lot, and how often she's online. I see them struggle with online bullying at times too. So some large medical organizations and hospitals are offering digital wellness and healthy digital habits programs, including the Boston Children's Hospital. They have this awesome digital wellness lab, and they do these surveys. One's called the Pulse Survey. Basically, they were interviewing a bunch of adolescents about their tech usage. Not surprisingly, or maybe surprisingly, they seem to be aware that they use technology too much. So 44% answered they use their smartphones a little too much, they're online a little too much. When they're asked, how do you feel about the amount of time you spend on social media? This survey is really illuminating. It includes findings about family regulations for smartphone use. For instance, does your dad use Family Link to turn off your phone remotely? And social connections through digital media, online safety, and screen time as well. Also through the American Academy of Pediatrics, they offer a free family media plan where families can create a program that works best for them. I'm going to start using this for my family. I really am really impressed by it. It's free, and you can basically collaborate with your other family members in a really non-judgmental way to get them to think about their smartphone usage and their online profiles and things like that. So these are really reputable organizations that are doing some really good work. The family media plan, it's got a really cool interface, easy to use. It's involves a lot of ideas about priorities, media balance, kindness and empathy through social media, which I think a lot of us are looking for, especially with teens, digital privacy and safety, and screen-free zones, et cetera, like the family dinner table should definitely be a screen-free zone. And you can collaborate with your kids. So I've already set up a plan for Lillian and I. She does not know that I have done this yet. And I've told Lauren that that I will be tackling this coming weekend. But so it's an opportunity to plan like screen-free activities together and track your online activities. Even get so there's even community activity time where you get involved with your community and work with And so I just think it's a wonderful platform, and it's really useful, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Lillian responds to it. Also, some of you are probably familiar with Common Sense Media. They have identified that nearly every child, and all the research has come up with this as well, 98% of children have access to a mobile device at home. And youth represent 1 in 3 internet users worldwide now. So Common Sense Media is really starting to try to play a role in assisting parents with the right tools to help for the children to manage this really confusing 21st century landscape. It is it's interesting. It's one of the oldest media. What's the best way to put it? They have been around a long time helping families navigate media, way before digital media came along. They make movie recommendations. They do lots of really good. They do a lot of really good multimedia evaluations of all kinds of things for families. So it's a really good organization, and I like their platform. It's a little it's a little simplistic in terms of I think if you want something that you can write out instead of creating a digital platform, it's the best way to go, just because they have these family tech planners, basically very similar to the American Academy of Pediatrics digital tech planner. It's just you would write it out with your kids or type out the plan. I do like to have a more interactive plan, and the AAP's plan is just slightly more interactive, and you can revise it as you go, which I plan on doing because things change so quickly in this world. So as librarians, we feel like we are really on the front lines of assisting patrons with digital literacy education. So we offer technology classes. We constantly assist people with their devices, with their when they're working with the public computers on the first and second floors. We are teaching media literacy courses like these. We're really trying to help citizens, and I see this as one of my main roles, to exist in a confusing and really constantly changing digital world. So there are some, and I mentioned this, a lot of you have your devices here, and I'm sorry I ran through the digital well-being stuff a little fast. I just want to get through this so we have time for questions, but we do have this, I do want to mention this actually, one more thing. About the awesome work we're doing as public libraries. So along with partnering with Reynolds Journalism Institute, this great partnership with the League of Women Voters, this has been just a fantastic series. Other organizations, we partner with IREX, which I mentioned before, the International Research and Exchange Board, and it's been a 5-year collaboration, produced curriculum for our media literacy programs that we launched during the pandemic. Lauren is going to get to see them in a few days at a conference, which is really exciting. They also sponsored what's called a bridge building case study, which is posted through a website called Web Junction, and it features our human library program, as well as the work that we've done with digital wellness and digital literacy. I do want to make a plug that we just got an offer from IREX to help out with a chapter in their book about media literacy. So we're really excited about that. I think it's going to be really cool. So yeah, if you have further questions, we are helping people all the time in our device advice and tech help drop in Tuesdays and Fridays from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Just this past Tuesday, I was one of the staff members in there, and we helped people with, I think we had 9 people come in. We helped people with all kinds of different questions. And even, we even had someone who was needing some assistance getting her banking set up. Now we have a social worker at the library, and we have some social work interns, and they were able to come in and help. And we did this wonderful like teamwork where everyone got help. And I felt so good about it. You know, it was just one of those things where we're doing the good work here. So Device Advice is a great place to drop in if you have more questions about digital well-being or getting some of these apps on your phone. We also have one-on-one tech help. So we're really trying to cover all our bases here. This is a little bit more in depth. You can make an appointment online or on our website, or you can call the main switchboard number and a library staff member can set you up with an appointment. So these are a little bit more in depth. If you have questions about your device, someone can sit with you. I'm basically more of an Android specialist, but we have a lot of Apple specialists at the library as well that can help with some of your questions. This is the resources page. It's not complete, but it's most of what we covered today. That will be, you can pick that up on your way out. I would be glad to send out a link to the presentation today. We've got a lot of cool, really good hyperlinks in the presentation. So if you wanted to send me your email, or just send me an email and ask for the presentation, I would be glad to send that this presentation out to you. My email is right up there. It's smith@dbrl.org. And yeah, at this point, you've got plenty of time for questions. And I wanted to make sure that I open it up for questions that you might have. We also, please grab as many freebies as you want on your way out. We have a lot of them from our previous media literacy effort, and they're great cleaning cloths. Cleaning cloths are great. You know, you can't have enough of them. Wow, how I feel. So let me just open it up for some questions.
And we again ask that folks use the mic. We'll be walking this around. Someone online did say that the Apple phone, the equivalent of that sort of family monitoring, is under settings, and it's called screen time.
Screen time. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions?
My biggest problem is the amount of garbage that floods my inbox on my email every day, so that I probably spend at least an hour a day just sifting through and getting rid of stuff. Do you have any advice about programs that could do that for me, or some other way of handling that?
You know, yeah. So basically, it's your email. Just you're inundated with sort of spam. Basically, is that right? It it multiplies.
Advertisements.
Advertisements, and there's so there is a really good way to filter out a lot of this stuff. There's a filtering. Do you have Gmail? Is it using Yahoo? Yeah, Yahoo has the same kind of filtering. You can get okay. I don't think it's the settings in Yahoo, but with Gmail you can actually get to a it's not the filter. Lauren, the filtering with Gmail.
It is, but you can set up filters.
Is it settings that you go to first?
I can't picture it.
Yeah, anyway, there is a way to filter all that out. And you basically use a lot of like terms that would catch. For instance, if you're getting I get a lot of advertisements for cycling stuff because I'm an avid cyclist, and they seem to multiply day by day. It's crazy. But I'm able to filter these out. using the filtering software on Gmail. And it's just, it's been really helpful. And we absolutely be able, it's one of those things, if you wanted to drop into, we could help you with that, because although I do say that I have filtered a lot of stuff and it just keeps popping up. So it's hard. It's really hard to take care of that and to stay on top.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can block it.
yeah, someone's saying you can block it. There's also, often there'll be a way to unsubscribe, but I feel like you're constantly getting subscribed to things, whether you subscribe to them or not.
Just gonna add on to that. I've just gotten to a point where in my junk folder, I go and I select all, I quickly scan down in case there's something that pops up I want to look at on Facebook. And I delete it all, and then I delete my trash.
That's-
And that's very much faster than deleting one at a time.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's the nice thing about filtering is that you can set up terms that it will send it directly to your spam without having to do it one by one. Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing was when you talked about the Supreme Court decision today,
Yeah.
that decision, there's a lot of misinformation about that decision. The decision primarily, the primary focus of the decision was to let government agencies, Homeland Security, FBI, people like that, talk to social media platforms about content that they've identified as coming from foreign actors.
Okay.
That's the big push. Now, I'm not saying that can't be abused. I'm not defending that. And you having some misconcerns because of your profession and me having misconcerns because I know kind of how that stuff works.
Right.
The government side of it, not the software side of it. That is the primary emphasis. And the reason for that primary emphasis is because they've already identified 14 countries that are trying to influence the current election cycle, not only on a national level, but on a local level.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Kathy talked about that a lot too. There's a lot of malevolent influence in that. I think the thing that I've been a little bit concerned about with this is that there was some censoring of differing views on during the pandemic that maybe was a little, what's that?
Then, and the last thing, and
It was wrong science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll I don't mean to make anyone mad.
no, you're not making me mad. The pandemic was just a mess. And I don't care whether you're left of center, right of center, above center,
Right.
doped up. Everybody can find something to complain about there and be valid.
I
Okay.
know, you know, yeah.
The other thing is, we talk about Facebook in here and we talk about TikTok in here.
Yeah.
And everybody says, well, there's weaknesses. What I don't understand is why people professionals don't address the glaring inherent security risks in both of those platforms. Because
Mhm.
if you sign up for your Facebook or TikTok, you basically open up your entire life to whoever wants to see it. And I mean, DOD won't let soldiers on TikTok anymore because of how much information TikTok was able to get to find out about individual soldiers and units.
Well, like I said about TikTok, I mean, that was a huge misinformation spread with the selective service draft thing that happened last week. I mean, there was nothing, a draft was not happening. There was no draft, but the misinformation just spread like wildfire through TikTok. And I think some people were actually worried that these were foreign actors who were getting in here spreading this information intentionally to cause, discontent among the American public and things like that.
That's that kind of is the vast what I'm trying to emphasize here is the vast capability that both Facebook and TikTok have to do data mining, and especially on, it's why TikTok is, I've had officers tell me that TikTok is now something that armed services members can't be signed up for. Maybe
Yeah.
their families can, I don't know, but they can't
Right.
because of data mining.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard that popular saying that if a tool is free, you're the product, that your data is being sold and mined, like you said.
So Seth, in some of the digital literacy, because I think we're all about in the same age category. So I'm not talking about young people anymore, but in my AARP readings, there's so much that's directed at senior citizens in the way of phishing and scamming. And the more we get drawn into a digital world, the more vulnerable that we are. And so do some of your digital literacy sessions cover things like that and I mean, how we recognize those things, how we.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, we have some classes coming up where we're going to be discussing some of this. In fact, I wanted to mention that we do have an introduction to Chat GPT that's coming up at the library. It's going to be in July. And basically, we're going to talk a lot about how it's used not only for data mining, but also for good. But there are things with AI that are making things really confusing, especially to seniors as well, because there's so many ways that AI can be used to present false information using imagery that looks real, and that's it's really terrifying in some way. And also, one of the things we're trying to do with our drop-in tech help classes is expose people to media literacy as much as we can. I know I sound like a broken record about it a lot, but I firmly believe in the digital literacy component of technology trainings.
Seth?
Yeah.
Just a comment. I appreciate this handout with time.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the factor that overrides everything. How much time is, pardon the expression, wasted
Right.
with garbage?
Yeah.
If I may be, yes, I dismiss my French. I just use Facebook and, recently I'm like, what am I wasting my time? Because most of it is like, well, today's a lovely day. I think I'll have coffee and a donut for breakfast. How about you? I mean, it's lovely, but I'm sitting there and reading this stuff. So I wonder at some point, will people say enough, because I just use one social media, which I'm thinking about dropping. How about people who spend their days? So the time factor is the issue that I'm more, as well as the disinformation part.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this handout, is just, it helped me realize how much time I spend on social media and that time I waste. It's just, there's so much wasted energy, especially getting mad about other people's social media posts and things like that. So I don't have much social media anymore. And I think people are getting tired of, how platforms seem to kind of recycle out. Facebook is very unpopular with younger people now. And TikTok is all the rage. And then TikTok might be banned in this country, and which will probably make it more popular. But I think people are reaching limits on it for sure. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because it's addictive,
Well, Seth, it seems like you're living the dream with your daughters.
Right.
So as grandparents with two adorable twin 8-year-olds eventually coming online, what's your advice to our kids and their kids on when they should get a cell phone. And I'd love to see this family tech plan. That sounds like a great thing, but what would be your advice on when?
You know, it's interesting. I was just telling Lauren about this. I think, you know, as far as advice Lillian really wanted to connect with her friends and wanted to say, I would say eighth grade, ninth grade. I mean, that's the recommendations that are coming down. A lot of people are saying freshmen in high school is when that's the first, they should not have a smartphone until they're freshmen in high school. And I wish, you know, looking back on it with the pandemic and them being online a lot more because of that, we just wanted them to be more connected with her friends. And I would have done it differently. I just think, and my daughter Lucy didn't have one until she was a freshman, just because she's quite a bit older and didn't have as much access. But that's, yeah, I think that's most of the recommendations you're saying that now. But yeah.
Any other questions? I think I would like to say that I think we periodically do have a class about staying safe online that one of our colleagues offers. I'm not sure when that's going to be offered again, but watch for that on the library's website. And that's got some good digital security and basics, you know, around phishing and things like that.
Yeah, online safety, I think it is what it's, and it's great. Yeah, it's offered quarterly. Yeah, just keep an eye on our tech programming, and we've got a lot of really good stuff that's coming down the pipe. Especially, we're excited about the ChatGPT stuff.
This is common sense in many ways. Like if you say never have this at dinner, of course, we have an iPad near our table. We're having discussion and we often look up one word or something we're talking about. So why not? It adds to our conversation. And we have to think about all of the wonderful things it enables. I mean, we have communication with other people across the state in ways we never would have been able to do. So it's just learning how to live with it in a way that's positive. And we've had to do that with other medias,
I totally agree.
books.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not going away, and
it's not, and it's going to be here, and we want it. So I think we just have to be sensical about our decisions.
And trying to navigate it in a way that's positive. And I think I'm particularly sensitive to it just because I have these teen daughters who are struggling with it. And I think all parents with Gen Z kids are in the same boat, and it can be hard.
Do you have the last words to say?
Well, if there aren't any more questions, thanks, everybody. I'll
Thank you,
turn it
Seth.
over to Linda.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you, Lauren, for watching Zoom for us tonight, taking questions. Don't forget, in 2 weeks, I just wanted to mention a few things that when Scott's here on July 10th, he's going to talk about the potential of AI for delivering misinformation, but he's going to take the positive side as well. And he's going to talk a little bit about New Horizons and things that will enhance. So I'm looking forward to the enhanced part, because all I'm hearing about is the non-enhanced part. Yeah, grab a few cookies on your way out. Make sure you get some handouts, free goodies from the library. And there are bookmarks out there on dates, important dates coming up for voting and early voting. Is everybody familiar with, I'm going to put my league hat on for just a minute, because with the photo ID bill that was passed a couple of years ago came the opportunity for us to early vote. So it's different from your excuse-driven absentee voting. We find that in talking with people, they're kind of confused about the two things, because the legislative wording requires people like the county clerk to use no excuse absentee voting. We're encouraged to use the words early voting, but 2 weeks prior to election day, which is August 6th, but 2 weeks prior to that, we can start early voting. And the clerk's office is going to open the commission chambers on the first floor of the government building Monday through Friday to early vote. And then the first weekend, they'll be at Columbia Mall, early voting on that Saturday, and then Douglas High School. And then 2 of the libraries, one in Southern Boone, which is Ashland, right, Carol? And then in Centennial will be open for early voting. Okay. To my knowledge, the only thing that can be mailed in is an absentee ballot that you have applied to receive in the mail, and then you turn around and mail it back in. Now, I don't even see them talking about mail-in voting. As I don't think Missouri did, but some states did. Yeah. 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 So just keep that in mind. I know that there are people that say they really love going to the polls on election day, and good for you. I like working the polls on election day and seeing those people, but we do have that early voting period. So, okay. Hopefully we'll see you back in 2 weeks. Professor Christensen is looking forward to it. So thanks for coming out tonight.